Our project is called Cultura, the biggest show on earth. It is a 3-week project that was created by Spanish teacher Laurel Gould and language arts teachers Ariel Schaefer and Daniel Leach. This project was created for high school juniors and seniors. The driving question for this project is how do culture and language shape narrative and theater production? The class will examine this question through the lens of Chicano poetry and theater. In this project, students will compare and contrast how culture affects narrative and theater, followed by students writing and directing a theater production based on Romeo and Juliet and La Celestina. They will address issues of cultural tensions surrounding the U.S. and Mexican border in their original works. What does it mean to be illegal will be the theme of the entry event for this project. It will be an introduction to Chicano poetry and music. An expert from Eugene's Centro Latino Americano will explain some of the issues surrounding immigration to the United States. We will introduce students to the idea of culture as a performance and have students choose what theater specialty they would like to work on. For this project, students will have already read the stories of Romeo and Juliet as well as La Celestina. The parallel storylines of their themes of conflict will frame the student discussions of illegal immigration and culture in the United States. An expert from Centro Latino Americano in Eugene will be the first guest for the project. She will explain some key problems surrounding immigration to the United States, as well as facilitate a discussion with the students about negative portrayals and stereotypes of Latino people. The students will be divided into 2 production companies of 30 students each. These companies will then be separated into expertise groups of 5 to 6 students. Experts in lighting, costumes, blocking, acting, and directing from Wildish Theater will teach their corresponding expertise group basic skills for creating and running a great production. Once divided into expertise groups, students will devise deadlines for their work as well as guidelines for participation. They will discuss what they know and what they still need to learn about theater production and Mexican and American theater practices. We want to allow students to create their own requirements so students feel accountable to their groups and the class. On the 4th day of the project, the students will work in their small expertise groups to research similarities and differences between Mexican and U.S. theater. They will use the information they find to create a multicultural production that incorporates these different styles. On the 5th day of the project, groups will work to create a supply list for the teacher to get over the weekend. This will also be the first day of creation and collaboration between groups. We want students to work in small groups so they can become experts in their field and learn business practices of sharing and collaborating. Every other day, all the groups will check in with the class to demonstrate their progress and future goals. These check-ins will be used as a way to connect all the expertise groups as they work individually and to keep all groups accountable for their work on the production. The second week of the project will mostly be dedicated to group work and constructing props, costumes, blocking, lighting, and memorizing lines. The students who were previously scriptwriters will take on the role of directors, who will coordinate, mediate, and communicate with all of the groups. The third week will consist of putting finishing touches on all props and construction. As groups start to finish, they can transition into other roles as needed. Students will have rehearsals in the school theater in order to practice on a real stage rather than in the classroom. In addition to rehearsals, students will learn about constructive feedback. The 2 companies will perform for each other and give each other feedback to prepare for the final show on Thursday. The director from Wildish Theater will also rejoin the class to give grow and glow comments to the students. Every other day, students will present group progress and goals to the class to keep everyone informed. The directors in the class are also in charge of making sure that everyone is following their own deadlines and making sure every group has the resources they need. The groups will also do a jigsaw activity on Monday of week 2 so that every individual is aware of what other groups are doing and how they are doing it. Formal journal entries throughout the project will be on how culture is incorporated into their group project, as well as bigger questions that are raised about legality, racial prejudice, and cultural tension. The journals are due on Monday of weeks 2 and 3. The journal requirements will vary slightly between the language arts class and the Spanish class. For the culminating event, we will have students perform 2 10-minute plays for the community as a cover performance for a Wildish production on Thursday night. The proceeds will go to Centro Latinoamericano. After the play, students will provide feedback to the Wildish Theater Company and receive feedback in return on their performances. The students will be assessed based on journal entries made throughout the week on how culture is incorporated into their group project, as well as larger questions that are posed during class. They will also be graded with a rubric on a formal final reflection paper. Their final production will be ungraded, but the students will receive feedback from the Wildish theater professionals with grow and glow comments. By exploring the similarities and differences in Romeo and Juliet and La Celestina, students gain insight into how cultures affect dramatic presentations. With that knowledge, the students can look at the conflict of cultures between the U.S. and Mexico today. This production also facilitates further insights into culture that cannot be easily taught. Finally, donating the money earned to Centro Latinoamericano leaves a positive legacy from this project. In order to become a reality, we would need the cooperation of Wildish Theater. We would like experts in costumes, lighting, blocking, acting, and directing to visit the class for one day and allow the class to act as an opener for one of their productions. We would also need to use the school theater during week 3 for rehearsals. In addition, we would like an expert from Centro Latinoamericano to visit the class.